we are excited to be joined for the first time today from the White House by May Mailman, Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Policy Strategist. May, welcome to Clay and Buck. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So we saw something get a lot of attention over the weekend here. A little exchange between the leader of the free world, number 47, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, and the governor of Maine. We wanted everybody to hear how this exchange went, May, and then have your reaction to it and what we should expect is going to come from it. Play the clip.
The NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with the state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good. I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
President Trump not messing around there, May, and he's not a man who's afraid of court either. What's going on here?
Yeah, well, Maine's governor is an idiot, I think, is really how you can describe that, which is she wants to lose all of her federal funding in order to make sure that men win women's pole vaulting and can watch women shower. Like, that's what this is about. And guess what? When she says she's going to comply with federal law, great. I've got a good one for her. It's called Title IX. And Title IX requires that women be given equal opportunities in education programs. Women cannot be given equal opportunities in education programs if they can't have women's sports. If you can only give, here's your women's sports, also it has men in it. So you're not giving women's sports at all. And you don't make men have to face unfair competition, only the women. And so that's not equal opportunity. And also, by saying women cannot have privacy, dignity, and the women who you've talked to that have had to face this, their grades suffer. They get stomach ulcers. They don't use the bathroom. They don't use the locker rooms. Paul Scanlon at the University of Pennsylvania would run home after swimming completely soaking wet in Pennsylvania in winter. I mean, it's abusive to women, and that's what Maine's governor would like to do.
Okay, I want to hit you with some facts because I went on when this broke on Friday. 79% of Americans agree with President Trump here that men shouldn't be competing in women's sports. That's according to the New York Times. 94% of Republicans, 67%, though, of Democrats as well. May, in addition to the legality that you just laid out, I think you're a Harvard law grad, kind of an impressive thing. But also, isn't the sheer public support for Trump in a state that was, as he said, relatively close, 52-45 was how that came down closely in Maine against Kamala, and Trump won one of the electoral votes there. Isn't it crazy that Maine's governor and Democrats in general would pick this as the battleground based on what the general public thinks of this issue?
Yeah, on one hand, I'm so glad they are because it solidifies their lack of existence as a serious political party. And on the other, it's really sad because, you know, it's harming women. But after the President Trump won the election, I think there was some in the Democrat parties, we need to be normal. Like, let's try and be a little bit more normal. And I said, no, I don't think they're going to be more normal because they can't. I mean, they're so committed to this stuff. The first page of their platform when they did their Democratic National Convention was a land acknowledgement saying they weren't really in Chicago. They were like in the ancestral homelands of the Okie tribe. That's where the Democrat Party is. And so, of course, they are doubling and tripling down on women not having a right to women's sports. And I don't exactly know what's going to break them of this, but it's not going to be Seth Moulton from Massachusetts say, hey, can we be a little bit more normal? Because the core of the party really does believe this stuff. It's not like it's not what the American public believes, but like they believe it in their core that it is a good, it's a national good to have men and women's sports.
We're speaking to May Mailman, Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Policy Strategist. She's calling us from the White House today. And May, I don't know if you saw this, but it goes right to what you're talking about. There was a clip in exchange between, I think it was one of the Pod Save guys, those like left-wing Obama era guys, and Bill Maher. It's definitely Bill Maher. So it's a Democrat and Bill Maher, and he says, essentially, if you guys don't stop with this gender transition for minors stuff, you're going to lose every election for the foreseeable future. And what's fascinating is the Democrat, again, I forget the guy's name, is like horrified by this idea and thinks, oh no, we have to double and triple down on gender transitions for minors.
Yeah, this is the thing. So Maine's governor is no leader. She is a follower, and she is following her party. And so when Letitia James says all of the hospitals in New York are going to continue to mutilate and castrate minors, when California says this, when Minnesota says this, Janet Mills just wants to be part of the cool kids club. But it's pretty pathetic because the Democrat Party doesn't actually have a leader. And so all of these people who are trying to be woke, like who are you showing off for? Chuck Schumer? I mean, who's the leader of the Democratic Party? AOC? Who's actually making decisions? There's nobody. And so that's who's making decisions. It's like the liberal professors on Blue Sky. It's like the people who used to censor us on Twitter. That's who's leading the Democratic Party is nobody. It's a mob. It's a mob of woke idiots who are overeducated sitting in their parents' basement. And so that's a real problem that the Democrats have to respond to. It's the Pod Save guys getting everybody worked up. But that victim culture of, oh my God, this is terrible, we need more men and women's sports. It is a lack of leadership in the Democrat Party, and I don't actually see a leader emerging who's normal.
We're talking. We appreciate her calling in from the White House right now, May Mailman. You just were talking about the experience on Friday. There is a report that I believe it was the chief of staff or one of the Maine governor's associates that was outraged by the president's interaction with the Maine governor. Did you see that? I'm sure you saw the reporting on it. What was the vibe in the room after the interaction like?
Okay, so this is hilarious, but also so telling. So yeah, the governor's meeting, which was on Friday, 46 governors. This is a bipartisan event. We're talking about a super bipartisan issue, which is no men in women's sports. And of course, then the governor of Maine stands up and says, I'm going to sue you, basically. And yeah, it was tense in the room. It was crazy. I mean, the president has invited you into his home, and here you are acting intransigent and also on such an unpopular issue. So the next morning at 9 a.m., the chiefs of staff come in to ask any questions that they'd like to the White House staff. And one of the White House staffers, great guy, Alex Meyer, really nice kid, and the Maine chief of staff comes up and says, I hate you, basically. I want to do all this women's sports. And we said, no, you got to save women's sports for women. And he said, F you, you asshole, and stormed out of the room. So this is the childish behavior of the state of Maine, is screaming that you're an a-hole to the head of intergovernmental affairs at the White House and marching out.
So this is crazy to me. I appreciate you sharing this story because I've heard it happen, but I mean, for the governor of Maine, again, this is a state that Trump won an electoral vote from. And I would imagine an overwhelming number, because we took calls on Friday from Maine residents, actually agree with the president here. That's kind of a crazy thing for the chief of staff to be doing, right? I mean, from any state in the White House, I think. But to react like this to something that the overwhelming majority of your citizens would support has to be kind of staggering even to you.
Yeah, I mean, this is a total activist. So he's a former Planned Parenthood staffer. Just activism is very much in his DNA. And Alex Meyer in the White House said that this guy had his full speech prepared. He wanted to make a name for himself. And so, you know what? You do have a name for yourself. Now you're known as an unhinged lunatic who's screaming at random White House staffers. But you know who wasn't surprised was the Republicans in the state of Maine who came up right after this story broke and said, we've been dealing with this guy forever. So this chief of staff for the state of Maine basically treats himself as a mini governor and has been lording over all the people of Maine, being totally impossible to work with. And apparently, even after he had stormed out of the room, which was totally for theatrics, he still really needed to stay in the room because he wanted to touch base with people. He might have had some more questions, and so he actually just lurked outside the room. So he stormed off, and instead of going anywhere, he just stayed out, like right outside the room.
May, did you have any idea when you signed up to work in this White House that the first 60 days, or first 30 days rather, going on 60 now, was going to be just such a blizzard of activity?
So I did and I didn't. So I was here all 4 years last time, and it was busy. The first 100 days were busy, but it was nothing like this. And I didn't do transition during Trump 1.0, but I did transition this time. And so I can tell you I kind of knew because we were preparing all the executive orders, and I could tell it was going to be busy. But one thing that I didn't anticipate is the first time we'd sign a lot of things, they would say a lot of words, and then it would be like pulling teeth trying to get people to actually do them. And there was a lot of disagreement. And now we'll sign something, and people implement them way more aggressively than I even wrote them. I'm like, oh, wow, you didn't need to do it. That the implementation has been night and day different. So it keeps us all on our toes. It's a lot of work, but I think part of it is everybody's inspired, very inspirational by the last 4 years of basically crisis in this country. And so people are working at a different pace.
May, we'll have you on again soon. Love you with the insider stories here. Keep fighting the good fight and appreciate the time.
All right. Thanks for having me.
That's May Mailman and Buck. That story, wow. I mean, the Maine chief of staff losing his mind. We'll open up phone lines. We got a bunch of things still coming your way. Lee Zeldin at the top of the next hour. But I bet some Maine residents would like to weigh in on that because I don't know that story has really gotten out there, the reaction the next day. So if we can clip and share that, team, I think that'll do well. In the meantime, look, headed into hopefully spring. Hopefully it's starting to get a little bit warmer for some of you out there. Maybe it's time to get out and grill. Maybe it's time to be able to sit outside a little bit. It's going to be 60 some odd degrees in Tennessee. Finally starting to feel a little bit like spring, and I'm already looking forward, Buck, to the idea of being able to sit outside and eat some of my Good Ranchers, which is phenomenal. Beef that comes from cattle born and raised right here in the good old USA. Same for their chicken and also for their salmon. You can get all sorts of meat out there, whether it's beef, chicken, salmon, whatever you like, sent straight to your home from our friends at Good Ranchers. No antibiotics in the meats. No added hormones, no seed oils, just great tasting beef, chicken, and salmon, all raised by ranchers. That's why they're called Good Ranchers. Website, goodranchers.com. You're going to love it. Your family will love it, just like we do here in the Travis household. You can use my name, Clay, to save $25 off your purchase. In fact, we've got so much coming into the house, we've actually given some to friends in the neighborhood so they can try it out as well. And it has been fabulous, universally positive reviews everywhere. Get signed up right now for your healthy food at the house, goodranchers.com. My name, Clay, for $25 off when you make your purchase. That's goodranchers.com. My name, Clay, $25 off.